Hey, welcome to Forest County, Pennsylvania, and the Forest County Outback Channel, where we combine history with the outdoors. Now, on this beautiful fall day here, we are going to look at two sawmill sites and, if time permits, an abandoned reservoir. Now, as we explore these historic sites, there are, broadly speaking, two types. There are ones that are well known, well documented. There's a lot of literature on them, there's photographs, and there are a lot of remains to be found. And then there's other ones that are anonymous, and you may pick up one sentence buried somewhere in a history that'll give you a clue that this site existed, and when you get there, there's not much to see and there's a lot of uncertainty about it. So we're going to look at examples of both those sites today. This is Forest County Outback number 61, Bob's Creek, and the unknown. So first we're going to look at the unknown site. This was a mill that's eluded me for a while. There was one, like as I said, one sentence buried in a history, and it referred to a May Brothers mill at the mouth of Little Minister, and that's down that way a little bit. Now, I've been here several times. I've looked and looked, and I have not found a sign of that mill. And it was supposedly built by the May Brothers in the 1820s. It was a large water mill. There were ruins of it still in existence in the late 1800s. But any sign of it, like I said, has eluded me. A couple weeks ago, I got an email from one of the viewers, and he tipped me off to a site that is further up the creek this way. So we're going to go see what we can find, because if it's there where he says it is, and I don't doubt that it is very likely the May Brothers sawmill. But unless we find additional information, we're really not going to know for sure. Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we need to talk business, specifically calendars and photographs. The 2026 Outback calendar is now available, almost. I'm recording this on November 5th. The printer tells me that the calendars may not be available until the 18th, but I'm putting them on our store website so you can pre-order, and we'll get them out as soon as we can. We also have 4 new enlarged photographs. These are 13 by 19. They're on good heavy photographic paper. One is a photo of Newtown back in its heyday, and then we have 2 aerial photographs of the Mayberg chemical plant, also during its heyday. And fourth, we have a photo of a Tionesta Valley train on the trestle that would become the Big Phil. So if you like what we do, you can support us by subscribing, giving us a like, a share, and a comment. Remember, 7 words in the comments. Also, you can visit our merch shelf, which is down below here underneath the video. You can also go to our online store where we have the calendars and photographs. There's a link to that in the video description. Also, if you want to do direct financial support, there's a link to our PayPal account in the video description. And you can follow us on Facebook at the Forest County Outback Facebook page, and you can email me directly, terry@forestcountyoutback.com. Okay, back to the video. So what we're doing is we're wading up the stream here. Ideally I'd walk along the bank, but the brush is really thick up there. It would be a constant battle getting through that brush. So, and what we're looking for is in the stream. So that's where we're headed. All right, we should be getting close. This fellow was kind enough to drop a pin or marker on a GPS thing that he sent me. So it should be right up here somewhere. But what a day, eh? Unbelievable. All right, right on the money. Another timber here. Four timbers. I'm not seeing any more. Just these four here, which I got the silt stirred up now. Have to wait till they clear out. I'm not seeing anything out here. We don't know what's underneath the bank. So, is this the May Brothers mill? Don't know. I would have to find some more information. Like I said, we know it was described as at the mouth of Little Minister. We're not that far from there. It's the only mill I have a record of being here. And would this have been a dam, part of the foundation of the mill? We don't know. But so by going by pacing, there's possibly another timber here buried under the. Yes, there is, right here. No, I saw that one already. Okay, sorry. So there should be, if the building continues, another timber over here. But as you can see, getting down here from the bank right now is, yeah, not something I'm going to do. So We made another find here. I was actually walking across the creek. So that's the site of the timbers over there. I was walking across the creek to try to get a photograph up here. And what do we find? A row of planking. Buried in the creek bed. Wooden planking. I don't know how well this will show up. But yeah, it extends across here. So there was a dam here. Okay, I'm going to try putting this. I did try this underwater. I'm going to try it again. I had planned this summer to hike the creek as much as I could when the water was low, but nah, that never happened. But yeah, there's a lot to be found here. So, like I said, we had a dam here, and the timbers are over in that area. Now, whether it's the May Brothers mill or not, we don't know. We may never know. But somebody was busy here. So these are the timbers. And right out in that direction was the dam. And these timbers would have been placed right below the dam. Right, this is a good day for me. Some of us have simple needs. Okay, we're at the mouth of Bob's Creek near Mayberg, and you probably recognize that bridge behind us from other videos. That's the old railroad bridge that crossed over to the sawmill in Bob's Creek. Now, there was a sawmill in this area in the 1820s and 30s. We don't know really anything about it. It was possibly operated by the May brothers, who seemed to have a sawmill every couple of feet along this creek at that time. So fast forward to 1894. Mayberg was a small village of oil lease workers, and on the mountain behind me were several thousand acres of old growth pine and hemlock forest. It was owned by Lewis and Caroline Watson of Warren. After Lewis passed away, his widow sold off some of their properties, and in 1894 Teddy Collins bought that timberland, and the operation was called the Watson Lands Lumber Company, even though it was a purely Collins operation. And shortly after the purchase, Collins began preparations to log the area, and they started construction of the sawmill up on Bob's Creek, which we're going to get up there and explore the remains of. So we're working our way up Bob's Creek to the site of the mill. It seems to me Teddy jumped the gun a little bit on getting this mill into operation. At that time, the S&T Railroad only up Tionesta Creek as far as Kellettville. So all the sawmill machinery had to be put on sleds or wagons and hauled up here by teams. And this also included an 18-ton Shay locomotive, which had to be disassembled into several manageable pieces and hauled up here along with the rails and, you know, whatever other machinery we needed to operate it. And for the first year, the mill was putting out about 35,000 feet of timber or lumber a day. That had to be hauled down to Mayberg by wagon. The next year, the S&T was extended up to Mayberg. So had he waited a year, he could have avoided, it seems to me, he could have avoided a lot of work and expense, and just waited till he had his rail connection. But whatever. I wasn't there and he didn't ask me. Now once the mill was operating at full capacity, this area here, this bank up here, you see, would have been lined with lumber piles all the way from the mill down to Tynesta Creek. And you can see in these photographs. Around 1905, the Watson lands were mostly cut over and the mill was running out of timber. So at that time they changed their focus to bringing their timber in from Lamentation and Bear Creek, which are south of Kellettville, south of Newtown on Tynesta Creek. And that was a long haul, and it would have made sense to saw them at the Salmon Creek mills in Kellettville, but they were running at full capacity with the lumber that they were, or the timber that they were getting from the Salmon Creek area. So by 1911, the mill was again running out of available timber, and it looked like they were going to have to close down. But Teddy Collins had been in a boundary dispute with Levi Clough over the property lines on the branch, and I did a video about the Clough operation over there. It's called, I don't remember the number, but it's called Clough's Mills on the Branch. And Teddy finally bought Clough out, and that would add 5 more years to the life of this sawmill here. And again, it was a long haul. It was coming out of the branch up over Hastings Hill and down around where the chemical plant would eventually be built. So the mill ran until 1917, at which time there was no more timber available. By that time, the chemical plant on the other side of the creek was up and running, and many of the mill workers here found work at the chemical plant. Other people just moved away. And as soon as sawing was done, the mill was dismantled, the machinery sold or junked, and that was the end of the mill here on Bob's Creek after 22 years of operation. So we're coming up here to the site of the mill. And this mound here, there's a lot of stone rubble in here. And this is about the place where the boiler house would have been. And then the mill down in this area here. And out that way would have been the loading docks and the lumber piles, which stretched all the way down to Tonesta Creek. So there's the boiler house, and the site of the mill is in this area here. And I've got a couple photos here to kind of give you an idea of what was what. And in this thick brush here are a couple of concrete foundations for machinery. And then this up here was the dam. So there's the mill site over there. Some of these timbers, I think, were they would have been foundations for the mill. And then this up here looks like this was the dam. And I have a photo of the mill from the dam side, and it's a little confusing. And I think what happened is at some point the photo got turned backwards. See some various pieces of metal people have picked up. Yeah, like I said, there's concrete foundations up in there. Really massive timbers here. And up here we've got some more. Yeah, I saw another timber. Yeah, over here. At least I think it's a timber. Maybe not. So there's the dam. At least what we think was the dam. Down there. We come up here and there are more timbers. These ones are pretty bad shape because they're out of the water a lot. Looking at these videos, I've come to the conclusion that this actually was the dam, and those large timbers down below were part of the mill structure. Sorry about the shadow in here. More stuff here in the creek. Some old rail. A piece of very light rail over here. Might be something from them they ran the mill carts on. Okay, so the mill was back over that way, and we're walking down this road towards the parking lot at 666, and over in here we have some concrete pillars, a whole series of them here. You can't really see them. Not sure, I don't know what they were for, but this area here, this is the area would have been lined with lumber piles all the way out here. This is the mill crew. So this behind me is the railroad bridge that connected the S&T with the mill on Bob's Creek. And right over here was the company store. And the railroad ran up that way. And the town of Mayberg went up, covered this hill and up over the top, and we are going to discuss those in a future video. So that is a wrap for Forest County Outback 61, Bob's Creek, and the unknown. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment. 7 words in the comment. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.